I've been using the term monoculture a lot lately, but I think I've been using it wrong. I blame podcasts. When I look up the term monoculture, it refers to a way of limiting cultural influences to just one group and excluding external influences. Monoculturalism, as the prefix indicates, is the opposite of multiculturalism. Monoculture is prominent in ethno-nationalism in authoritarian regimes. It wants to focus on the predominant thoughts, ideas, race, religion, etc. of a society or country. However, I've been using the word monoculture to refer to pre-internet, pre-cable era of media. Now, you can see how those two uses aren't totally different, but I do think we need a different term for that era other than monoculture, like monolithic media, centralized media, the three-channel problem. I don't know. The point is, there was a time, pretty much from the invention of television until the 1990s-ish, that everyone in America had fewer than a dozen TV channels to choose from, and most of those channels were UHF, meaning they were hyperlocal. But NBC, CBS, and ABC were the three big networks that ran national programming. There were no other options available to the majority of the country. So whatever was on, you had the three choices. As media critic Douglas Rushkoff once said, it's no mistake that networks called their output programming. The networks were programming us, giving us our timetable. Be by the channel at this time, till this time. Don't change that dial. Don't go away. Don't miss out. And we punched in and punched out following our assigned schedules closely. If we did not like, say, The Love Boat on ABC, we could pop over to Chips on NBC or even Falcon Crest on CBS. But beyond that, you're looking at a fundraising drive on PBS or Beverly Hillbillies reruns on whatever hard to get UHF Channel 38. I know that the TV show we're talking about on this week's episode, Hammer House of Horror, was a British production, but I understand the UK had a similar television situation as America back in 1980 when this show was released. And I want to say that Hammer House of Horror, to 2024 eyes, is at times clunky, silly, predictable, etc. But this was the kind of show I wanted to see when I was a kid in the 1980s. I was good with most of the sitcoms then, but without cable, my 60-minute drama options were fucking Fantasy Island, Dallas, Magnum PI, Hill Street Blues. Like, where was the cool stuff, the weird stuff, the horrors and absurdities that I craved? I wanted new episodes on prime time of a major network, of The Twilight Zone, of The Outer Limits. I wanted Twin Peaks before Twin Peaks was even around. Hammer House of Horror, for all of its stodgy EC comic level twists and turns, brought me back to those rare delights of 20th century television monoculture, or whatever we should be calling it. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What was your favorite TV drama as a child? Like, did you watch any of the shows that your parents put on? Like the long form, not like Night Court or whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't remember. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Yeah, I don't because my parents were not huge TV watchers.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the only no, really, no, I know the answer. The answer is Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh, sure.
Star Trek: The Next Generation was the one show that the Baldwin family could agree upon. And by that I mean mom and dad agreed upon it, and me and my brother went along with it. But I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I
But
never
yeah,
watched.
but no
Yeah.
late night. They were not into the dramas, the soap operas. I mean, like later, maybe when I was in high school, Beverly Hills 90210 was a sort of guilty pleasure TV show that my mom and I shared.
Yeah, I think Fox changed the game for like kids watching TV because they got more into young people primetime drama.
Yeah,
Yeah, Beverly Hills 90210, even later the OC, which is a little bit older group of people,
yeah.
which is a
But
little
Melrose
bit,
Place
yeah.
was just a bridge too far. Even my mom was like, "We cannot watch this. This is too much."
Wait, hang on just a second. Delivery people.
Ooh, nice.
That's nice. Yeah, I think for me, I don't remember much about it, but I did like I did like MacGyver as a kid.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Oh, okay. See, now we're into it.
Uh,
MacGyver was quite good.
I even
Oh,
I kind of liked Miami Vice just because I thought it was kind of cool as a kid. I
yeah.
found that
I
cool.
I remember staying up late one night and watching an episode of Miami Vice that had that it had like I can feel it coming in the air at night. And for whatever reason, the intro to that song was so intense.
Hmm.
It just made me feel feelings that I don't think I was ready to feel just yet.
Yeah.
Like that feeling of suspense. Maybe that was my introduction to horror. I don't know. Who knew Genesis would unlock my horror fascination? But now I do remember there was one show. Do you remember Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah.
That was one that I'm pretty sure my dad thought that was trash, but my mom was like, I love this show
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
of, this very handsome looking lion man living in the sewers wearing puffy pirate shirts.
I
Yeah,
do
that
remember this.
I think that was mom bait, and I think I went along with that as well.
I think that was the same lead. I could be wrong about this. In my head, that's the same lead actor as the guy from 30 something, which those
Oh,
two shows I remember my mom being really into because she would have been
oh
in her
no.
30s at the
Wait,
time,
I gotta know
probably.
now. I gotta know.
Tell me if I'm right or wrong on that. Uh, yeah, Beauty and the Beast, man, I had forgotten completely about that show, and I lump that in the same category as Lady Hawk, as just
Oh, yes. No, it's
uh
Ron Perlman. It's Ron
oh, Ron
Perlman.
Perlman was
Yes.
the Beast.
That's what I thought. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Man, I take it all back. Give Ron Perlman as much work as he wants.
Oh my God, yes.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you had the same response to this show to watching first three episodes of Hammer House of Horror, but it was the type of like I don't know, we got Tales from the Crypt later, but wasn't that an HBO show, I
That was an
believe?
HBO show, so they
Yeah.
could, get away with a little bit more, I think, than even the BBC would allow.
Yeah. I looked this up. This was ITV, not BBC, the Hammer
Oh,
House
okay,
of
sure.
Horror.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
but yeah, but even like Tales from the Crypt I couldn't watch very often because we didn't have
No,
HBO and
I mean,
whatever
yeah,
else.
us
And
neither.
um
HBO
s-
was like a luxury.
yeah.
Like MTV, like anything higher than like channel 13 was, my parents were like, we're not paying for that.
There's a bank robbery happening across the
Oh,
street again.
that's exciting.
It is exciting. All this time in Europe, and we would hear like sirens of ambulances and police cars or whatever going by,
Yeah.
and I was so jealous as to how audible their sirens are in Europe, but how they don't bust your eardrums out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I'm outside on the streets in Brooklyn and a fucking fire truck goes by, I'm like, I am suffering massive ear damage right now.
It's a little less Ninor
Yeah.
and a little more like full on screaming into the
Yeah.
microphone.
So yeah, this show was really fun. It has a very 20th century kind of Richard Matheson, Ira Levin sort of like, let's do some spooky short form
Yeah.
horror thrillery type of stuff with twist endings here and there. And I think I feel like I saw all of the endings coming in,
Oh,
in this show.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But fun times. So we're gonna
But
cover oh
it was a good because I got to admit, in the first 5 minutes of episode one, I was like, Jeffrey's gonna hate this.
no.
Oh no, what have I done?
No, I enjoyed it. I think it's super silly, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. And my only complaint is the same complaint I have every time we do first three episodes, which is it's three 1 hour episodes. So I get used to these like cool, quick paced 90-minute movies. And then
Yeah.
suddenly I'm like, oh, here's 3 hours.
Yes. Yes.
So we did the first three episodes. This was an anthology horror series. It ran for one
Yeah.
season, like I think 13 episodes, 1980. It was the creator Roy Skeggs, I believe was his name. He was kind of credited with kind of pumping some life back into Hammer Studios.
Sure,
which was
sure.
well known for all these like 1960s, 70s kind of schlocky but beautifully acted horror
Yes.
films.
Yes.
Um, yeah, this it's cool, it's neat, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and we start with the first episode is Witching Time.
Now, Jeffrey, from the minute, well, one, the introduction is quite fun. It's sort of a castle on the moors,
Mm-hmm.
someone looking through a window.
Mm-hmm.
Is the running intro, and before each introduction, there's almost like a little teaser of the episode to come.
Yeah, cold open sort of thing.
Yes,
Yeah. This one, the first two episodes, the cold open is kind of part of the story. The third episode was definitely like montage of what is to come, which I thought was
it's literally just
really
like here's
effective.
previously on
Uh-huh.
Hammer Horror,
But this one
or what
is,
you're about to see.
yeah, totally. Yeah, the opposite of previously on, like
Yeah, I know.
what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Next on.
This one is, we start with the killer cam going through this old mansion, passing a
Uh-huh.
maid, and then closing in on this woman, beautiful young woman.
Slowly undressing woman.
Yeah. Oh, they could totally do like nudity and cussing in British
Oh yeah.
television.
Yeah.
And the camera approaches as she sits at her vanity and she turns around and screams and it stops. Title sequence. And then next thing we know, we're in this guy's house in his little he's got a little podcast studio.
Yeah.
He's a music producer. He's a composer,
Yes.
music producer. And we see a little television screen next to him, and there's the still photo of the woman screaming. So we realize what we saw earlier is a film that he is writing the score for.
I love it. Which is kind of a cheeky way to acknowledge the sort of Hammer legacy of filmmaking. So our first one is about people making horror movies, which
Totally.
adore. Also, I was like Garth Marenghi? Garth
When I watched this show last night, I could not stop thinking about Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I still think about his quote of like, I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
Yes. Oh,
I
yeah. No, subtext is for cowards for sure on the Hammer House of Horror docket.
God, this is such a good pairing with Garth Marenghi.
Oh, yeah.
Well, his phone rings. It's his wife, Mary. This guy is named David. Mary is an actress, and
Yes.
she's like, I'm sorry, I'm still at the flat in downtown, and I'm not gonna make it home to the
Oh,
country
it's a
tonight.
late shoot.
Oh, phew.
I'm doing what I can, but just, you know how these things are, darling.
And you can tell he's over it. It's as
Yeah.
like, yeah, I know. I have a sense of what's going on here, and we do too, because it
Yes.
pans out and we see her in bed with another dude drinking champagne.
I know. Listen, just pouring champagne. Oh, they're like,
God,
congratulations, you've just cheated on your spouse. Have some more champagne.
this is it's the most 70s thing you can do, which is to sit under bed sheets with your lover
Yes.
and drink
Yes.
champagne.
Like silk bed sheets next to
Yep.
a fern in some mauve or some taupe colored walls.
Uh-huh. Uh, okay. So now we've
Oh,
got. Oh,
but
go
she
ahead.
says, make I won't be home tonight, but make sure you take care of Muffin, our
Mm-hmm.
racehorse, or
Mm-hmm.
our horse. It's not a
Yes.
racehorse.
Yeah.
Take care of the horse. And
Yeah.
he's like, fine,
Fine. I'll
go. Oh, right.
make sure that the stable is locked. Blah blah blah. Well, there's thunder. The thunder rolls, the lightning strikes, and we've got a big tea storm coming in, and he's gonna go batten down the hatches. The dog, I think the dog's name is Billy, is like freaking out. Oh, it is Billy
Yeah.
because when he goes to call for the dog later, he shouts Bill, which is a great name for a pet. Um, he also, we note too, he gets up from his studio to carry his empty bottle of Chivas Regal back over to the liquor cabinet, set it down, open the cabinet, take out another fresh bottle.
Yeah.
So That's where we're at with production
Yep.
here.
It helps him work.
Uh-huh. But yeah, the dog's freaking out. Billy's freaking out. The muffin is freaking out.
Yeah.
He he's like, "Oh, you want out? I guess you want out, don't you, Billy?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"It's a thunderstorm, my dude. Do not let
Yeah.
that dog out." He lets that
No.
dog out, and it fucking runs off.
Oh, yeah. That's usually not, that's kind of weird.
Uh-huh.
He's like, Bill, 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 Bill.
Question, because I don't remember. Do we see the dog again? Do we ever get resolved
No,
whatever
I
happened?
don't
Oh,
think
no.
so.
Okay.
I really don't, because
No.
listen, as reveals go, he goes into the barn and he sees what he thinks is a very small dog shape, sort of in the straw, and it
Mm-hmm.
turns out to be a lady.
Oh, the redheaded lady.
Oh my god! Like he like picks up her head. It's wild. This reveal is very like amateur theatricals Macbeth.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Like
Yes.
she is working Lady Macbeth
Oh
for
my
all
God.
it's worth.
She
Very
is
professional theatricals, I might say.
she is like a beaver just gnawing on this scenery.
Oh my
Just it's
god.
so good.
Yes.
Also, I want to give bravos and kudos all around to the language that she uses, which is supposed to sort of embody Old English.
Sure, like 1600s English,
Hmm.
yeah.
Who be you? She
Oh my
says to him.
god. Oh my god. This is like an episode of Hocus Pocus. Like
Oh
if Hocus
God.
Pocus was not done by Disney and didn't have Bette Midler and Kathy Najimy and Sarah Jessica Parker, it
Uh-huh.
would be this episode.
Yes. So we learn that she is basically a time traveling witch. She was being put up to, they tried to drown her,
Yeah.
they hunted her, the witch finder came after her,
Yep.
blah blah blah. She didn't drown, so now she has to be burned at the stake. But as they were about to burn her at the stake, she managed to escape by zapping forward 350 years.
Dope.
And
That's pretty powerful witch stuff.
yeah, and she ends up in the barn at Woodstock Farms, which is
Yeah.
where she was raised.
Yeah.
It was Woodstock Farms in 1627. This house is from 1627. Unbelievable.
She's home.
Uh-huh.
Welcome home.
Um, and then, and then we kind of go through the we go through the motions of person from an old time being zapped into
Uh-huh.
present day, very Bill and Ted sort of
Oh yeah.
bullshit of
Who
like,
is the
oh,
queen? Who is the queen? Queen Elizabeth?
which
But
one?
which Elizabeth? The second? Duh. She's like, oh, I did it. I love that. Like, this is she's time traveling witches, Jeffrey.
Uh-huh.
Time traveling witches that are terrified of light switches.
Of electric lights and
I
toilets.
you know this is a mental game I like to play with myself sometime. Of I imagine 100 years ago from this date, and then I try to imagine 100 years in the future from this date, and like just noticing the differences, what was there, what was not around
Uh-huh.
100 years ago, and I try to, in my mind, envision where the next 100 years might go.
Mm-hmm.
It grounds me, it gives me comfort to let me know that there will be, there has to be a morning after kind
Yeah.
of imaginings. And sure, 300 years is a long time. But some of the things that this witch, Lucinda, is it Lucinda?
Lucinda
Prunella?
Jessup.
No. Yes. No, Prunella is the actress, which I was like, there's an actress named Prunella. Prunella plays the wife. But Prunella is a fucking dope ass name that needs to make a hard comeback in my mind.
Oh, fuck yeah, it does.
But Lucinda is nonplussed by certain things and very, very put on edge by other things that I don't think I don't, when I'm playing the 100 years game, I would there I don't know. She is she is a wild cat,
I
this
like
one.
how alarmed she is by overhead electrical lighting,
Uh-huh.
but how easily she manages to just get around all of his like video equipment and
Oh yeah. Like, yeah, I know. Yes. When later when like we records her laughing, I was like, thank God they said he records. I was like, how did she figure that out? Because I don't even know how to work a reel to reel.
Mm-mm.
Never mind, like, futz around with it and like record some shit just on the fly.
Yeah. So she's nervous about him. He's like, "Can I get you a drink?" And she's like, "You
Yeah.
tried to poison me. You be tried to poison I."
Ye be tried to poison me in ye olde English.
There's a lot of her going from sheer fright, like, no, that is
Yes.
the cellar that they trapped me in, to just giggling and prancing up the stairs.
Yeah.
And this dumbass, I mean,
Oh my
listen,
God.
I get it. Like, if a strange woman showed up in your
Yeah.
home and is
Yeah.
just acting like this woman is,
Yeah.
and you sort of have to believe she's not a witch, but just a person who's a little unhinged
Yeah.
or a lot unhinged.
Yeah.
You've got to figure out how to get rid of her. But I think what he does is not the way to do it. She doesn't seem to be armed
No.
because she's completely naked under a black cloak, basically.
Uh-huh. Yeah, she has a black cloak and that is it.
He walks her into this bedroom, and she's like, "This was my room when I was living
Oh.
here." And then he closes the door and locks it with the skeleton key.
Right? Of course she's gonna be mad. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, I'm so like, just give her, I don't know, show her the toilet and just let her like teach her how to flush a toilet and let her be entertained.
Yes.
Give her a Rubik's Cube. I don't know, show her a microwave for God's sake.
Yeah. Also, she's super pretty and kind of wild. Like, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
just be like, "Can I take you to dinner?" Like, I don't
I
know.
know.
Let's, if you're
Yeah.
gonna be around here, I mean, my wife has a boyfriend, so
Like, do you want to go for a drive in my automobile?
wait till you see this
I
fucking thing.
This be witchcraft, but not my kind of witchcraft. This be modern day witchcraft.
Uh, "Get me out, or it'll be the worst for you," she exclaims. I wrote that phrase down. That was a good
Oh my
phrase.
God.
Yeah, "Do this, or it'll be the worst for you," is, I think, gonna
Yeah.
make it into my repertory now. So David calls his pal Charles, the doctor,
Uh-huh.
to help deal with this problem. The thing about Charles is that is the man that is having champagne with his wife from the opening sequence.
Yes. Yep. He's like, oh, I just got back in from the city. I had a late call in the city. And he's like, oh, well, thanks for coming over so late anyway. Poor unsuspecting guy.
I I was already questioning Charles, not just because of the affair, right? Like, that's on, we know this. But in
Yes.
Charles's relationship, not to David, but to Mary,
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. Mary already said, "I'm sorry, I can't come out to the country tonight. I've got this shoot."
Yeah.
Why isn't Charles being why is he so quickly ditching his mistress?
I mean, as far as we know, he might have a wife at home too. Like, he has to get back to his country house
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
maybe so. But yeah, I don't know. It was wild.
It
So
was more his doctoring that made me like cast it. I was like, this witch does a lot of very questionable things in the course of this episode, but really the doctoring in this is kind of sus.
yeah, I'm gonna do a little eye exam, and then now I'm just gonna like
Uh-huh.
put two fingers on your wrist and then count.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Stare at my watch.
Yeah.
Seems like maybe you should stop drinking. It's
Yeah.
kind of his diagnosis.
And in the meantime, I'm going to give you a heavy, like, antipsychotic intravenously.
He gives him a shot to help him put him to sleep, and he had already told David, "Hey, I think you need to not be drinking so much while you're on the pills I'm giving you." And my thought
Yes.
as a doctor, I think your two options are to either talk. I think your one option here is I cannot give you any more pills
I know, right?
until you do something
Yeah.
to curb your
Yeah.
drinking.
Yeah.
Not, I'm going to give you another massive dose of
Something even
medication that's going
stronger.
to.
Yes.
Yeah.
But just
But
just this one time.
the problem comes when David, when Charles first arrives, David's like, okay, so this woman showed up. I locked her in this room.
Yeah.
They go into the room and she is not there. And he's
Yes.
like, I swear to God, she's there. She's real. She's real. And he's so, she doth protest too much is a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
bit
Yeah.
David.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, he also mentions to Charles, I think Mary has a lover, and I think it's that bloody director.
Um,
And Charles is like, oh, well,
mhm.
you shouldn't be so suspicious of your wife.
Oh
She's just
yeah.
a
Well.
hardworking
Yeah.
lady.
Yeah.
Well, now he's all
Roll up your
doped.
sleeve.
Bend, bend over. I'm gonna give you the shot right in the ass
Yeah.
cheek. So David's all doped up. Charles is gone. He goes into his bedroom and there's Lucinda, and she's like, "You betrayed I, David Winter, ye
You
be."
betrayed I. Oh my God.
She didn't say that,
Thou hast betrayed me.
but she says, "You called the witch finder." He's like,
Yeah.
"No, no, he's a friend of mine. You
Yeah.
want me to burn?"
I
Okay.
love how she knows how like what calling on the telephone. Like she's cool with phones.
Yes.
Overhead lights, mystified.
Totally
Telephones,
missed.
totally gets it.
Also, doorknobs. Like I was thinking about just like she's working doorknobs. Like I don't know that 350 years later that doorknobs make much sense to a early 17th
Yeah,
century
maybe.
person, but
Yeah.
maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know about the invention of doorknobs, but this okay. Do we want to?
But oh, she's not here. She's come back. Of
Mhm.
course, you know.
Do we also want to get into? I don't think a prolonged discussion, but we should at least just mention that at least the first and third episodes of this series deal very heavily in male gaze because her solution here.
First, third, second. I mean, the second one is
Oh, you're
like
right. Yeah.
the second one's rough. I mean, the second one, like, here's like the late 70s were a wild, wild time. And
Pers
I think your introduction is spot on in that this is pretty, monoculture, but it's like monoculture trying to be a little bit subversive and edgy, trying to talk about what's cool, what's happening on the street,
Yeah.
which is just, of course, like just makes you want to cringe even more sometimes.
Yeah.
So David is like he's hopped up on goofballs or whatever
Uh-huh.
they said in the 70s.
Yep.
He's surfing on quaaludes or I don't fucking
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
And fucking Lucinda shows up again.
She drops her cloak and
Yeah.
he calls her a ghost.
The
She's not
ghost. Yes.
real. You're not real. And she says she drops her cloak, places his hand on her tit, and was like, "Is this the body of a ghost?" I'm like, "What?"
I don't know. I've never gotten to second base with a ghost before. It might be.
Maybe. I don't know. Do ghosts have titties?
Do
Uh,
ghosts have titties? The age-old question, Jeffrey.
how do werewolf work and do ghosts have titties?
Yep. But next thing, they are making very strange love.
Uh-huh.
Strange love.
I think you have.
The kind of thing where it's like when you're a kid and learning about how bodies work, this is like what you must imagine when you're just mashing
Yes.
dolls against each other.
Yeah, two people standing can just press up against each other, and that's how you do the fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
She's also scratching the shit out of his back. We see like droplets of blood
mhm.
forming and skin peeling off and stuff. But Charles has called Mary at her place or at his place and
Yeah.
at the law. I think it's hers. It's she and David own a flat in the city.
Yes.
Is I think
Yeah,
how
that
that
makes
works.
sense.
So he calls Mary at the flat and is like, "Hey, listen, I think David is hallucinating. He should
He's
not be
cracking up.
left alone for long."
Yeah.
She's like, "Fine, I'll go back first thing tomorrow." When she gets home, she sees David in bed, and he immediately is like, there was a girl here and she was real. I know she was real. I'm like,
Yeah.
David,
Calm,
just
calm it
be
down.
cool. be
Yeah, be cool, man.
cool. Um, and she sees the scratches on his back, Mary does, and it's like, what the shit happened to you?
How'd you do that? Yeah.
I don't remember. Uh, so she doesn't believe him at all.
No.
Um, she goes upstairs at one point in time and finds a beheaded crow,
Oh, yes.
and it's like,
And
well,
immediately blames David. She's
yeah,
like,
you
you
did
did
this.
this. And he's like, wait, that just happened. I
Also,
was downstairs.
what in my character would suggest I would do this? Like, I
Yes.
can understand if you thought that I had a woman over, if you thought
Sure.
that I was doing drugs, if you
Yeah.
thought that I broke something of yours.
Yep.
But to put a dead fucking beheaded crow
Beheaded crow. I know.
in the bed
Still
that
flapping.
oh,
But he says, you know what? I'll take care of this. And he digs a giant grave for a tiny crow. Did you notice this? I was like,
it's like
what are you
5 times
doing?
the length of this bird.
I was like, what are you doing in here?
I laughed so hard because I thought about how production assistant was like sent somebody over there, dig a grave or dig a hole that we can use as the shoot for the grave of the bird, and somebody went out there and dug this like 10-foot long grave.
Yeah, I know, right?
And the PA was probably like, we don't have time to fill this.
I
Fine,
don't know. Yeah,
fine.
just get it done. But he's like, fine, I'll take care of it. So he digs this grave, he throws the crow in, and like the shovel kind of hits the crow. Simultaneously, Mary is out riding Muffin,
Mhm.
the horse,
Mhm.
and she gets kind of scratches on her face. Oh, witchery. There be witchery afoot.
It's almost like it's time for witching.
Oh,
The
the
witching
witching
time.
time. About
Clever titles.
11:15 in the morning.
The really confusing, I think, David's most baffling decision here is when he hits that crow,
Yeah.
he immediately sees her in this, her face
Yes.
in this grave, and he freaks out, thinking, oh shit, that's my wife I just hit. And he
Yeah.
bends down to kiss her, but what he does is press his face into this bloody dead crow body
Yeah. Ew. So now he's running around the house,
with fucking
bloody
rabies.
faced.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sir, you don't need you need one, you need to change doctors. You don't need like sedatives. You need a tetanus shot. And
Yeah.
it's probably some like antibiotics.
Mary comes back in and pours herself a bath, draws herself a bath,
Of course.
but that tub fills with blood.
Oh, which she also blames on David.
Yes. And then she runs downstairs just in bra and panties, goes running
Oh
down the
yeah.
stairs. There's like an old like kind of classical bust up on the top of the
Yes.
stairwell, and it falls down.
Oh, but you don't see who's doing it.
Uh-uh.
Classic Agatha Christie kind of. Oh, it's a mystery.
It falls down from above. It narrowly misses her. Then
She
she
goes,
runs
she goes
into
bra over tea kettle,
bra tea kettle.
brassiere over tea kettle.
There's a recording of Lucinda, her wicked cackle coming from David's reel to reel in his
Yeah.
studio. And then
Which
he is
that should be proof enough. No, kind of maybe sort of proof
maybe.
enough. Would
I
that be
mean,
if you put yourself in her shoes?
yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
okay, the cackling, I could see where that would be David's idea of whatever,
yeah,
and I could see how that would tie in that maybe he's pranking her, but there's nothing in his character that says he's I could see where like she could anticipate violence from him because he is in a really shaky state
yeah,
emotionally.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
not like prankster shit. Like this is
No.
all prankster shit if he did these
Yeah.
things. Also he is downstairs.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, he could have rigged up the blood in the bathtub. He definitely could have done the recording. But how did he do the fucking vase or bust falling
Yeah, I don't know.
from
But she
anyway?
she is, I mean, that's the thing about witchery. It's just made to confuse you and weaken you.
Uh-huh. So she's like, I'm fucking out of here. I'm
Yeah.
leaving you. I'm gonna go get my clothes from our
Mhm.
wardrobe and then
Boudoir.
boudoir, and then suddenly all of the clothes and books and everything in their bedroom start flying off the shelves and walls and
I
shit.
mean, that those bookshelves explode.
That's true. It is true.
The bookshelves explode. The closet is like sideways, as if
Yeah.
they're in a hurricane in Florida.
Yeah. And now she believes him.
I
Um,
mean, yeah,
I also was wondering, like, what's Lucinda's end game here? I mean, I think her main thing is she's just trying to
right.
torture David, but she wants Mary gone. I guess she wants Mary dead.
That might like she wants to like supplant
Yeah.
Mary. I think she just wants David as like under her thumb, and she can kind of regain her, become mistress of the house
Yeah.
of her, and then just kind of continue on her chaotic
Yeah.
merry ways
Yeah.
in the 20th century.
Um, she tells Lucinda does tell David where they're kind of back to normal because Mary's staying. She believes David. She's gonna go off and meet with a priest, talk about poltergeists and shit,
Yeah.
and ghosts. And but Lucinda's harassing David, saying like, "I put my mark on you. Get rid of ye old strumpet whore."
The strumpet.
Strumpet whore is
Oh
a
my.
great phrase. We also noticed too that also they're fucking again,
Yeah.
and the other thing is he can't see her in the mirror.
Yeah.
So
So she's a witch ghost vampire.
yeah, how do witch work?
I listen, unclear.
The priest points Mary to these old records that show that back in 1652 there was a witch burning that a woman named Lucinda Jessup, a young woman, managed to disappear and they never found her.
Yeah.
Um, she breaks up with Charles because he refuses to help out, which
Yeah.
good for
She's
her.
like, no, really, my husband is cracking up.
Uh-huh. I also was like, the Charles storyline was sort of odd. Like it was just kind of an underwhelming end to the
Yeah.
Charles thing. I kind of wanted more out of Charles, but I guess Mary did too.
Yes. Truth.
Okay, then uh can we talk about the can we talk about the amazing stuntman wig and outfit on when Mary is riding Muffin?
Oh my God. So that's, of course we get some voodoo dolls up in here.
Oh, we get the voodoo doll, but I was also just cracking up at like the person riding this horse in all of these scenes is like 6'4", broad
Yeah.
shouldered, where
It's like a linebacker.
it's nowhere close to looking like her from behind. Yeah, she gets injured because Lucinda scares the horse, rears up, she falls, goes to the hospital for 3 days, and has immense pain. No broken bones, just in horrible
No.
pain.
Yeah. And the nurse, I love the nurse. She's like, well, just enjoy your rest. I mean,
Yeah,
listen, you're here for a few days. Just, treat it as a holiday. And she's like, I am in pain, but
my
you
husband
can't.
hasn't shown up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Like her mother is out of town or something. Her
Hmm.
husband is nowhere to be seen.
Hmm.
And the nurse is like, you'll be fine, sweetie.
um, Finally, day 4, she goes home. David is in the full throes of being
Oh my.
telepathically manipulated by
He's
this
got
witch.
crazy eyes.
Yeah. Um, he tells her, I wanted to come visit you in the hospital, but she wouldn't let me. Mary is still in horrible, horrible pain. And when she goes upstairs to her bedroom, just she can barely move. She's in so much
Yeah.
pain in her, like all on her left side.
Yeah.
She gets into her bedroom and Lucinda has taken lipstick and covered all the mirrors.
Just some redecorating.
And then I laughed so hard. Did you catch what was she wrote on the door? Which she wrote,
Oh, yes. Like,
It was Mary scratched through,
Lucinda.
and then it
Yeah,
said
and
Lucinda
yes,
in lipstick.
like this is okay. All right, so we are operating at like middle school yearbook level of witchery here.
Uh-huh. You remember when we covered the wailing for a
Yeah,
Patreon, and we were talking about, when he finds the daughter's school notebook, and with all the it
yeah.
goes from notes to
Uh-huh.
then these horrifying drawings that were so beautifully done, and then the
Yeah,
shrine that they find in the cabin,
yeah.
and like just how
Intricate,
meticulous, just
terrifying. Yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah.
This is the opposite in terms of set
Yes.
decoration.
Like this is like, okay, we have exactly one shot to establish this, and we have it's almost like I you feel like, and I think that's why people love Hammer horror, is that you feel like this is filmmaking as if it was on Double Dare. Like there's a clock on the wall. They're like,
Uh-huh.
we don't just get it done. Just get like, listen, we have exactly 16 minutes to turn over the shot to shoot. We have
Yeah,
25 more shots today. Just get it done. And there is something silly and honest and refreshing about that,
agreed.
you know.
It's like borderline panto in terms of its mentality for creation, not necessarily its
A
acting
bit, yeah.
style, but
Yeah.
um okay. So she also finds
Just
Strumpet
Mary.
Whore on the wall,
Yeah.
and then she finds the little witch doll or the
Oh.
voodoo doll. Well, I don't know what you
Yeah.
call this. It's not voodoo that she's doing, but
No, no, it's
but it's a little doll
that
with
is
a
with a little bit of with a little shock of blonde hair.
with a little wig on it.
Tiny wig.
I always pour one out for Sarah Griff every time I see a bad wig even on a doll.
Yeah.
So it's got little knives, like
Yeah.
not pins, but like little
Like
tiny
saber.
knives.
Yeah, like or almost they almost look like carpentry nails
Okay, yeah.
or like upholstery nails.
And so she has to pull each one out of this little wooden
And
doll.
she's like, "Oh, I feel so much better. Oh,
Uh-huh.
oh, thank God. Why we discovered the root of this."
But
Unfortunately,
mhm.
as she's just, just like you do, wandering around the house, looking for your husband who is being tortured by a witch.
Mhm.
Um, he locks her in the basement.
Yes.
That's rough.
That is it, because that's also where Lucinda was locked into
Yes.
when she
It's where
was
and oh my God,
she
that
was a
moment where she's
witch.
like, "No, shut that door!" in the very beginning.
Yes.
And he's like, "It's just the cellar." She's like, "I was locked in that cellar before they tried to kill me." You're like, "Okay, all right, the door's closed. Still just a cellar. Unless you're afraid of like pickles and, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
but
old
Mary's dumb.
boxes
So,
full of
and listen,
yearbook
I gotta,
photos. Yeah.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, like gardening equipment. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, Mary's pretty industrious down there. Like, good for her. Good for her, sort of final girl heroine energy here. Because
Yeah.
she is gonna MacGyver her way the fuck out of this basement.
I okay, this basement door is a very rickety old wooden door that is
Uh-huh.
locked by what do you call those little sliding locks?
It's just a
Just a
little latch.
little
Just
latch that like
a
a
little latch.
yeah, like a oftentimes this is what like holds a bathroom stall door closed,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That type of
Exactly
latch.
that.
And I just fully do not understand why she needed a crowbar to get out of this
I don't know
place.
why she had to like pry the crowbar out of the wall.
You don't even have to
What?
be strong. You just need to throw your 110-pound
Yeah.
body into this thing and it'll
Yep.
come down.
Yeah. But we certainly watch her go through all of these steps.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
Meanwhile,
David is out chopping wood.
I was a little bit confused at first. I was like,
Uh-huh.
is he doing some light yard work?
Yeah, it does
Is
look
he
like he's just weeding.
Yeah, I was like, what is he doing? Oh, he is building a giant pyre.
Yes. Because they're gonna burn her Mary as the
Mary.
witch. Yeah.
Yes.
So he's cutting kindling
Yeah.
and then cutting wood. Man, he is industrious getting that much wood cut.
I know. Like log after log after log. Like, wow, this is gonna. you're gonna have a hard time explaining this to your neighbors and the police when your neighbors call the police a little bit later on.
This is a full afternoon for a couple of guys to chop
Yeah,
this much wood.
yeah.
And I was impressed that he got this done in 30 minutes.
He's on witch time.
He is on
You know,
witch time.
it's like time and a half,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's witching time. Oh man, I know I should be done with work, but I'm in witching time right now.
He he's pouring gas on it, everything like that. Mary though has escaped and she comes out of the
Runs
house,
right into the trap.
runs right into the trap. There's Lucinda.
Oh,
Mary takes out the doll. I like this. She was like, "It's you now. You're the
I
doll."
know. No, she literally, oh my God. She's like, I found your doll. And of course, Lucinda is just nonverbal, like, and you're like, okay, all right. Well, you clearly cannot be reasoned with.
No.
Um, because I don't know. But she takes this doll and she just like rubs dirt on the hair so it's no longer blonde, it's brown. And
Uh-huh.
she's like, it's you.
It's so amazing.
Is that how witchery works? You're just listen. I don't know. She unhexed herself, so good for her.
Yeah. But that doesn't seem to work. But you know what does work is she splashes water on her from the
Oh my
horse
God.
trough.
Oh my God. And Lucinda just freaks out, just like in the most like, oh,
Like it's like yeah, it wasn't this the end of Wizard of Oz? Don't we know that
yeah,
it's water that
exactly.
melts the
Yeah,
witch?
yeah.
Um,
Which
but
I mean,
we
I imagine she would have a fear of water, probably
yeah.
having been, you know, tried people trying to drown her. But we're talking like splashy, splashy.
It's really like it just does such a bad job of setting this up because what they say, what Lucinda says is that she was the master of fire. So, and I get
Yes.
that, like witch being elemental, and I think the
Yeah.
idea that like having a witch character who is a master of fire, that fire
Yes.
strengthens her, but
Yeah.
water weakens her. I'm like, that's
Sure.
brilliant, perfect,
Great.
easy
Yeah.
enough. I love
Makes
that.
sense.
But also, like, we also know that they tried to drown her and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's very strange. But it's the water that knocks her
Oh,
out of
yes.
power. She gets drowned in the trough by Mary. All the while, David is trapped in the barn that is now on fire.
Yes. Because
And,
he spilled over the gas can that is now lit the barn he is in ablaze.
and the whole time she's drowning Lucinda, you just hear David like knocking on the barn window, being like, help, help,
Help.
hey, help.
I'm
She's like,
dying.
bitch, I am busy drowning this lady.
Got to deal with something right now. You know, it's like when the phone and the front door is ringing and you don't know which one to go to, you know?
Yeah, that's right. So, anyways, Lucinda drowns and Mary's like she's
But does she, Jeffrey?
well,
Does
theoretically she
she?
does because then, Mary goes to let David out and she's like, she's dead, darling, you're free. But when they check the trough, Lucinda's body is gone.
I know.
And then this ending where David sees the little wooden doll on the ground, picks
Uh-huh.
it up, and is like, oh, might as well just throw that trash on
Yeah.
the fire.
Yeah.
Throws it into the fire. And I thought, given the lore we just learned,
Yes.
I'm the master of fire. She managed to time travel her witch ass to the future when they burned
Oh.
her.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, he throws this thing on the fire. I'm like, oh shit, this is going to move. She moved her spirit into the
Yeah.
doll.
Yeah.
The twist ending, it was maybe the final shot will be 100 years in the future.
I
I don't
know.
know.
It's 300 years later. Who'll be the queen? Queen Elizabeth the Fourth?
Yeah.
I've
But
done it again.
But what happens is that the doll gets thrown in the fire, and then we just hear Lucinda screaming bloody murder. Like,
Yes.
ah.
Okay. Ooh,
Like I thought
happy
you were the
ending.
master of
Okay.
fire. What's happening?
I don't know.
End of episode 1.
The end.
The end. Episode 2, the 13th reunion.
Ooh, this one's kind of punchy. This one was listen, all these episodes have their highs and their lows.
Uh-huh.
This one is this one is very this one had some rough moments.
Uh-huh.
Like this weight loss camp, this editor.
Honestly, the scariest thing in any of these 3 episodes that we saw is this weight loss camp because it
Yeah,
is the most like I mean, it is
cult.
violently fat
Yeah.
shaming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's meant to be. It's meant to show that this is a bad
Yes.
thing. I mean, the point of okay, so here's the story. It is
Okay. Yeah.
about
Yeah.
a
Set it up. Set it
writer.
up for us.
It's about a writer named Ruth who writes for a woman's magazine. So she only really gets to cover like all of these like women's
Fashion
issues,
shows. Yeah.
fashion shows, and cooking tips and blah
Yeah.
blah blah
But
blah.
she's like, I'm a fucking writer. I want to
Yeah.
write about something, anything real.
Yes. And so like her editor Gwen has, gotten in this letter from somebody who had gone to this, weight loss camp called Think
What is it
Thin.
called? Oh my God.
Think Thin.
Think thin.
Yes.
Oof.
And this person who'd written into the magazine, the editors, said, "Hey, listen, I managed to lose a lot of weight, but at the cost of like my spiritual health. Like it crushed
Yeah.
my soul doing this. So maybe
This
you
sounds
want to
like
write
fun.
about this." Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
her
what,
her editor
yeah,
like strong arms her into doing this.
yeah.
Like essentially says like write this article or I'm gonna fire you or I'm gonna ask for your
Well,
to
she
quit.
doesn't. I got more of the sense that it was, hey, listen, I get that you don't want to write this story, but that's what
Yeah.
we do here.
Yeah.
We are in the business of selling magazines to women and writing a big think piece about the political machine that is two-party capitalism or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not of interest to our readers. If you want to write that, you should quit and write a best-selling
That
novel.
book. Yeah. Write that
Yeah,
book you've always
write that
been
big
wanting to
book.
write.
But if you're here, and I really like the editor. I think she's great. I think she's a really good character.
Yeah.
Um, but she's like, go cover this thing.
Yeah.
Like, fair enough.
All right, fine.
So she goes to the Think Thin uh meeting, which is attached to the building that is at the Chesterton Clinic out in the
Oh,
countryside.
yes. Now, it is important to note there is our pre credits
Yes, thank you.
teaser is
Uh-huh.
very important in this one, which
Thank
I
you.
was kind of like, man, I think you tipped your hand a little bit here
Agreed.
because it is two very dour looking undertakers
They're very like
being
19th century looking too.
oh yeah, but they're like, in full undertaker garb. They put on the aprons. They're looking at this man lying on a table and they're like, oh, what do we have here? We have some contusions on the upper chest and some bruising on the lower abdomen. Yes. Hand me the cleaver. Schwap.
Yep.
Oh,
So,
okay. So
okay.
so we know there's some questionable undertaking practices are going to come into this story.
Yes. So Ruth goes to this first Think Thin session, and there is
Oh my God.
it's essentially just a woman on stage with
Yeah.
this mustachioed tracksuit wearing man who is
Yeah.
berating her for
Yeah.
being repulsive and fat and disgusting.
Like
And
showing her a picture of herself when she was like 20, being like,
yeah,
you used to be gorgeous. What happened to you?
yeah. He
Ugh.
she
Which is this is one of those things where like you do have to wonder, or like you do imagine, like again, this feels like commentary on what was going on in the culture at the time. And I think it's kind of set up as a diabolical practice
yeah,
that we're on the side of the reporter. Like we know that this is a diabolical practice. Anybody can tell you that,
yeah.
but it is hard to watch.
It's very hard to watch because he takes that woman down. He says some of the meanest stuff you can possibly
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
Like to the point of like, this is why no one loves you, sort of
yeah.
stuff. Um,
But the reporter and she's kind of found a friend in the audience. They're kind of like rolling their eyes. They're like, Jesus, this is
yeah,
so. I think the spirit of the filmmaking is actually kind of on the right side to be like,
Totally.
this is the, and this is, it was the 70s, 80s. It was like the age of like fad diets and like all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's trying to send that up, but
Yeah.
these scenes are a bit tough.
They're really, really tough. So she meets Ben,
Yeah.
who's just this perfectly normal, nice
Investment
guy.
banker,
Yeah.
clearly comes from money, but as he said, he is divorced from his wife because he is the most boring man alive. And
Uh-huh.
listen, if you're an upper class, middle class British person, and you're saying the most boring man alive, I'm
You
probably
are.
going to believe you.
Yep. But she likes him because he's honest, right? He's sweet, he's
Yeah.
honest, he's straightforward. He seems like a good guy, but he gets called up to the stage,
Yes.
and the PE instructor guy
Yeah.
is essentially like, "How much weight have you lost, Ben, since you've been here?" He's like, "Actually, none. I've actually put on a couple of pounds." And he's like, "Well, you don't look like it. You're doing
I
great. Keep it
know.
up."
What the fuck?
And at dinner that night, you see they're sitting together, Ben and Ruth. Ruth is having to eat a salad,
Yeah,
just
like
leafy greens. Oh,
undressed salad. Ugh.
and Ben is getting like extra buttery potatoes.
Yeah. And it's all
Um,
like, I don't know. This is just, it's my last night. Oh, you know what? I'm on, what is it? He said he's been drinking nothing but like orange juice and
oh,
something else. And he's
yeah.
like, well, I guess they need fat to make the orange juice work. I'm like,
What? He's like, I
what?
said get on an orange juice and olives diet or some shit. I
Yes.
forget what it
My
was,
God.
but now they're letting him have fattier foods because it's also interacting with a pill that they've given him.
Yes. Yes. Got to
Well,
take your mystery pill.
at the end of the night, they're going to drive home and they're getting, they're flirting with each other. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, she
So
writes her phone number on his hand.
sweet.
It's very sweet. But as he's driving home that night, he is going into full hallucinations.
He has like a full-on psychotic break.
Yeah.
Like there's a car behind him that's like kind of riding his ass. Okay, that's scary. That is truly scary.
Hmm.
He's going 900 miles an hour down a little country lane because,
Hmm.
as we've learned in horror movies, when things get tough, drive faster.
Yep. Make it
Don't
easier on
slow down.
yourself.
Don't pull over.
Be a
Don't
man.
take a breather. Don't take a nap. Don't go 5 miles an hour. Drive faster when you feel like your life is in danger
Uh-huh.
from yourself. But it's when he starts seeing himself in the passenger seat laughing maniacally at him, I was like, sir, I don't know what these pills do or what they're intended for, but this is not right.
Yeah. Well, he goes crazy enough to crash his car and it kills him. And then there is
Oh,
in the
and the Undertakers were right. Just happened to be right
oh, it just
behind
happened.
him.
You're right. Yeah. One of the Undertakers is just like, look at
Huh,
this.
weird, weird coincidence.
I agree with you, Cecil, that they tipped their hand with that opening scene, which
Yeah,
suggests cannibalism.
yeah,
Because a meat cleaver to cut up a human body
yeah. You're like,
in that
what? This is
way.
not typical.
No,
What do you call it? Embalming tools.
no,
Usually, chopping up the body is not how you like prepare a corpse for a funeral.
no. And if we had not seen that, I might have thought, oh,
This could have been a little more like, ooh, what is it?
the
What is
funeral
it?
home is drumming up. They're just generating their own business
Oh, sure. Yeah,
somehow.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
Because, we did note that this guy's wealthy, or looks wealthy,
yeah,
dresses nice, has a nice
yeah,
car, and is an investment banker, et cetera, et cetera. So you sort of imagine, like, oh, well, his family will probably pay a lot of money for a funeral. Let's
yeah,
get this guy killed. I don't know.
yeah,
All sorts of
yeah.
things. But
Could be
now I'm
anything.
like, well, he's going to the meat farm. I know that.
Yeah, but we
Okay,
gotta we gotta we gotta Nelly Bly this mystery all the
we
way
do.
through.
So now we meet Andrew, young Andrew.
Oh,
I love
oof.
Andrew. Oh,
So, oh, 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 stop my heart.
yeah, he's very cute. And Andrew is,
He's like the Undertaker assistant,
yeah,
junior Undertaker.
and he contacts Ruth because he knew upon meeting her at the funeral or the services at the funeral
Mhm.
home, that she's a journalist, and he is like,
Yes.
listen, I need to talk to a journalist because this weird shit has been happening.
Yeah.
And I tell you right now, Cecil, this scene made me so crazy. I was like shouting at my screen the way I shout at a
Yeah.
sporting event when somebody is
Uh-huh.
playing poorly and stupidly,
Yeah.
because he is telling her, I think he is the very rational, very sane person in this scene, saying, okay, so there's Mr. Cedric and Mr. Basil who run the funeral
Yeah.
home. I help dress the bodies. That's my
Yeah.
job.
Okay.
They every like 6 months or so,
Yeah.
every couple of months, a body comes in, and it's usually a bigger body, like a
Yeah.
heavy set body,
Yeah.
and they don't let me see it at all.
Yeah.
They refuse. And so I don't even know if that's what's happening. And she's like, do you have proof of this? He's, well, no, that's why I'm asking
No, that's
other
I'm
people.
trying
I'm
to,
trying to
yes.
investigate this. She's like, well, I don't know how I can help. And I'm like, you're a fucking journalist who dreams of breaking a big story. How hard is this, lady?
I know,
Just
right? Yeah.
uh-huh.
I mean, I appreciate that. I do kind of love like that it's sort of the she's trying to poke holes in everything. She's like,
Mhm.
well, I mean, we have no like all we're going to be doing throughout. She is kind of the smart journalist who's a little bit more worldly wise. She's like, I know this sounds suspect, but there's, like we have to like find some tangible evidence of this,
Yeah.
or else no one will believe us.
I think that it's in the writing and the acting both, because she
Oh,
plays this
absolutely.
as just kind of like, I don't know. She just plays this as like person who's like, nah, everything's stupid. Like she just plays
Yeah.
this so
Yes.
cynically, as
Yeah.
opposed to a thoughtful, experienced journalist who
Sure.
would poke holes in the idea, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
pointed questions to say, look, give me more. How, what should,
Yeah. Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
what's this? What's this?
Well, they're
Anyways,
gonna they're gonna find out some more by sneaking into the mortuary at night, or
they
into the
do,
crypt where they have buried Mr. Investment Banker.
yeah, not buried, but the crypt that they're holding his
Yes.
body in, because they're gonna deliver it later someplace. So it's just like
Yeah.
it's like a little corpse warehouse, and they crack open this thing. It is fully wrapped like a mummy.
Oh. Oh.
She also, this made me
She's
crazy
also,
because
I
she's like,
know. Yeah.
no, don't, that's disturbing the dead. I'm like, you are a journalist. You have
You've
already
got
agreed.
get to the bottom of the story.
You've already defiled the corpse by cracking
Yeah.
open the thing. Like, that's already the crime.
Yeah.
You know,
Also, why are you not taking pictures?
take
Like,
pictures. You're not taking
take
notes,
notes? Yeah.
recordings. Anyways, this whole, as a journalism major in
Oh God.
college, I'm not saying that I've ever really been much of a journalist, but I will say that I do know that there are some tools of the trade.
Yes.
But inside the gauze wrapped up mummy body, they cut it open, and it's just like a wire frame holding it all together.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
um, anyways,
Where? What did you do with the body?
and then they go check the freezer in the
Yeah.
back morgue area or whatever, like the little freezers that hold the bodies, and they find Ben's headless body, and they're able to
Yes.
identify him because he has the phone number on his
Yeah.
hand. And Andrew's like, now we should go to the police.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. She's like,
Yes.
no, no, but we did a crime, and I think we'll just get ourselves in trouble. Fair enough. Fair point. You might run into a situation wherein, if that body is not there when the police arrive,
I know. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
then,
Yeah. Like if. Mhm.
and we've seen enough in real life and in movies of police not really doing anything.
Yeah.
Like,
That's true.
the police don't operate like CSI. They
No.
operate more
Yeah.
like Mayberry.
Yeah.
So, anyways, she's like, but this is my big break. This is a real exclusive story I could be doing. And anyways, they tail the two old-timey
Yeah.
uh
Undertakers.
Undertaker guys. They put the body into the hearse and drive off.
Uh-huh.
No funeral procession. And they follow it, and it goes to Chesterton Clinic.
Oh no. The evilest of clinics. Oh my God. Cut to just like just a rich old dude handing two other dudes wads of cash, being like, the usual amount, yes, but with the quantity that we're supplying the product to
Uh,
you
uh-huh.
means we need to adjust our rates. Well, the product is excellent, but I understand. You're like, okay.
Okay.
Subtext is for cowards.
Yep. She's I
And
this episode.
she's literally like, she doesn't witness this, but in my mind, I imagine her just like her fingers on the ledge,
Uh-huh.
just like dangling out. Like, I mean, this is 2 seconds away from being a Mel Brooks comedy.
Yes. She is. I'm gonna harp on this because this made this episode almost unwatchable for me. When you thought I was gonna hate this show, you really
Yeah.
just thought you really should have known I just hated this second episode. But I think
Uh-huh.
it's because she's so bad at her job. She's so incredibly
Yeah.
thoughtless and bad and unprepared for her job, which is maybe the character flaw, right? Like we all
Yeah.
have a flaw that defeats us in a
She
tragedy.
she wants the thing so bad, she's just gonna go in headlong,
Yeah.
and she's forgotten. Like, she's like, I've got a story for the first time in my life. I've got a goddamn huge ass story, but she's not taking any precautions like she has a huge story.
Right. She runs into the PE guy, the
Oh my God, Mr. Mustache.
berater. Yeah, Mr.
Yeah.
Mustache.
Ginger Mustache.
She essentially is just like
Oh, oh,
she's like, I think weird things are. I'm like, you
yeah.
you know this man works here,
Yes. Yes.
and he's like, I don't know anything about these pills or nothing. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a PE instructor.
I know, right? Like, but also, no, he's part of the Chesterton Institute.
Yeah, and
It's
he
that.
yeah,
It's later when she has like a meeting with her cute junior Undertaker friend,
uh-huh.
literally in front of the Undertakers. I was like, could you not have your secret clandestine meeting that the entire plan hinges upon 2 blocks away? Is 2 blocks too much to ask?
No, it is, they are parked directly across the street. You can
Oh
see
my
one
God.
of the Undertakers like in the window staring down at
Yeah.
Andrew getting out of this woman's car.
When she's like following the corpse, she's just wandering around the Chesterton Institute driveway. There's clearly rich old Mr. Chesterton just watching her.
Yeah, unbelievable. Okay, so now she goes back to Gwen and goes back and then also meets with
This, oh
this
my
doctor.
God. There's sort of doctor consultant at the magazine that she works for. Listen, she gets permission to write up the article.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
Great.
But what? They're like, I'm going to make up a fake medical condition for you that will allow you to enroll yourself or be seen by the Chesterton Institute, which is, not think thin, because no, we've dropped the whole think thin plot line here for a minute.
Of course.
You know what? You need a vein transplant in the leg. That'll check out.
Uh-huh. This whole everybody's plots in this movie, everybody's plan is so flawed and terrible.
Oh my
I'm just
God.
uh anyways, so she goes undercover as a
Oh,
patient,
oh my God.
which given the lack of security here, I don't
Yeah,
understand why she
yeah,
needed to go undercover. She just needed to show up late at night and
yeah.
sneak in and
Poke
peek
around.
around.
I love it that she's like answering these questions from this very old doctor who's like, clearly evil doctor.
Oh yeah,
And she's like,
Rothwell who runs the
yes.
Chesterton Clinic. Yes.
And she's like, oh, it's my leg. It really hurts. And he's like, well, here, hop up onto this thing. And she literally hops up on, I was
Yes.
like, ma'am, you're going to have to do a better job acting in pain. And then later he's like, what is this? She's like, oh, oh, oh my, oh, no, no, please stop. That hurts too much. But it's when she hops up onto that table for her exam, I was like, what is
What?
happening? And he's
Any
like, yeah, yeah. You know what? I think we should definitely operate tonight. We should cut open your leg and we're going to take a vein from one leg, which this sounds like a very invasive surgery.
100%. Also, if my hypothesis is people are killing other people and
Yeah.
selling their bodies, I kind of don't want to go under any of their anesthetic.
No. But she does have a plan. She's like, listen, I'll just check myself out before the actual surgery begins. Like, I just
Mhm.
need to get in there, snoop, 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 Scooby Doo, snoop,
Mhm.
and then I'll just leave, which is
Yep.
what she tries to do, which is
Yeah,
what
so
she does.
she finds she witnesses, she sneaks outside. She literally does the
Yeah,
fingernails
yeah,
on the
yeah,
ledge of the window, staring in at Rothwell taking out a giant body
yeah.
hanging.
Which weighs all of like 19 pounds.
Yeah, he so easily carries uh, fucking
Like a
Ben's body.
200+ pound
Yeah.
dead weight.
I mean,
Jeffrey, okay,
okay.
wait, it just occurred to me.
Uh-huh.
Hammer horror is to horror what the old Adam West Batman series is to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
The DC universe, yeah.
Or the
The
DC, no, sorry, the DC Universe.
yeah.
Yes, sorry. Oh God.
Uh,
But yeah, but it's very like, if you like, it is campiness at the like, let's do the Batusi kind of
uh-huh.
level. If you like your horror like that, then this is where we're at.
Yes. So she follows, he throws it in, he easily throws this body, this
Yeah.
205
Just this
pound man in
old
the
man is
car.
like, yeah, I got this.
Motherfucker's like,
Hoist.
dude's like 18 stone. And she's
Yeah.
like, anyway, so she follows this car all the way to this like fancy white mansion estate.
Yes.
And
And she sneak, 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 sneak.
there's like a dozen cars parked out front. All the lights are on. She
Yeah.
sneaks into a dining room where the table is fully set for
Yeah.
dinner and is
Crystal, silverware, the
shocked,
whole thing. Yeah.
shocked she is to be caught. I
I love it
just
that she's like picking up the silverware and she's like, oh, you got me. You
unbelievable.
got me.
But weird, this is Humphrey Chesterton walks in and
Yeah.
it's like, oh dear, well, why don't you stay for dinner? What's your name? Then she tells him her real name.
I know, right? Her real ass government name. No subterfuge here.
No, but he introduces her around to everyone else.
Yes.
Here's Joan Hubbard. Here's Larry Rothwell, whatever their first names
Yeah.
are. Here's
Yeah.
an Italian guy. Here's a few other people. And then in all of the hobnobbing that's happening at
Yeah.
this fancy event, she ends up talking to Joan Hubbard,
Uh-huh.
who Joan pronounces her name Hubbard. Joan
Hubbard.
Hubbard from Bolton.
Joan
And
Hubbard.
yeah, and so
I'm
there
Mrs. Lovett's meat pies, I am.
which I really loved this notion because I think this is such a good way of setting up that,
Yeah.
oh, not everybody here is high society.
Yes. Yes.
She's like, imagine old Joan Hubbard from Bolton hobnobbing with the
Yeah.
gentry.
Oh, I know.
They
And
all
she's like, well,
met.
how did you meet? How did you all meet?
We were on a
This
plane.
disparate. Yeah.
We were,
Okay.
we met on a
Okay.
plane.
Oh, that's interesting.
We were flying from London to Marrakesh.
Oh, wait.
Wait,
When were you flying? Just a few, 2 years
what,
ago?
just over a year ago, as a matter of fact,
Wait, you mean the plane that went down?
in the Atlas Mountains.
Yes.
Yeah, the very one.
And we have a little reunion every month to celebrate.
This is our
Um,
13th.
oh, we have a title. To remember the people that we lost. You know, it's amazing what people will do when they're hard up against it.
Oh.
Ding, ding, ding. Time for dinner.
Uh-huh.
Subtext is for cowards.
And then we're finally
Oh
at
my
dinner,
God.
and Ruth is panicking. She knows what's up. And when they bring out the main course, it
See,
is,
this is Jeffrey.
yes.
We never even get to see it.
I know.
Like it's like they bring out like one of those like domed things, like the like I don't even know what you would call this, but like silver dome. And I was like, oh, here we go. Head on a platter, head
Uh-huh.
on a platter.
Yep.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be an aspic with like feet or eyes or no, we don't even get that.
No, she just sees it coming and is like, ah, I think you're all disgusting. And she storms out.
And they say, don't worry, let her run. And
Yes.
if you stick around for breakfast, I think we'll have an additional meal, a special brunch for you tomorrow.
So she goes to the funeral home to
French
find
toast. I hope
a
everyone likes French
French
toast.
French toes.
French
She
toes
she
made
races
from
off to
real
see
French toes.
She races off to see Andrew because he says, I'll be here until 11. She gets to the funeral home at night and she finds his dead body, throat slit
Yeah.
under a sheet. And
Yep.
again, with the plan of these villains,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, you
Yeah.
can't just go around cutting throats. Financial crimes, you have to launder the money. There's a long
Yeah.
process to get
Yeah.
illegally gotten money moved to
Yeah.
where you can use it. The same way with killing people.
Yeah.
You gotta do a few things.
I mean, snitches get stitches.
But the PE teacher enters
Yes. Oh my God.
and he was like, I was on that plane as well.
Oh
Cleaver,
my
thunk.
God.
The end.
Oh, what a
Thank God.
ride.
I was celebrating the end of this episode. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, we
this
get
one,
to it.
this one,
Yeah.
this was a little up and down. I mean, I think the acting was a little more believable than Lucinda from the first one, but
100%. 100%.
it was a little more naturalistic, let's say.
It also got more horror-y than the other two. Like that first one is not, I mean, it's horror because it's witches, but it's still a little bit like, I don't know.
Yes.
Um, this one felt a lot more of the EC comics,
Yeah.
that sort
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
era of storytelling. Rude Awakening is our
Rude
third episode.
Awakenings.
Denholm Elliott.
I know, right? Oh, such a good actor.
This intro, I think this is their best of the cold opens
Yes.
because it does the flurry of images that don't tell a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. Very
It's
striking images.
older man Denholm Elliott making out with a beautiful young woman who's naked in a red phone booth. We
Yeah.
see a woman's face being smothered with a pillow. We
Yep.
see a body
Um,
falling out of a giant dumbwaiter.
yep.
Um, it-
Surgeons about ready to remove their masks or
and
one.
then
Yeah.
this, and then a young woman who is in a different outfit, wig, makeup,
Yeah.
everything each time we see her.
Yeah.
Um, and we get to our intro, and now we've got Norman Denholm Elliott,
Yep.
older man, 60s, real estate, realtor,
A real tour.
relator. He is, he's got his little office in this small village town,
Yeah.
and he's got this beautiful secretary, Lolly, who is in,
Lolly. Oh, I mean, Lolly, listen, out of all of these episodes,
uh-huh,
Lolly wins. Lolly hands down
100%.
wins. Lolly wins this episode of this podcast.
I loved this episode. I loved
It's
episode
so
3.
theatrical. It reminded me of a Christopher Durang play,
Yeah, totally.
in which is very like silly, but also creepy. Like once we get into the plot of this, like if you stop to think about the plot of what this man is going through, it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
But
So,
Lolly is dressed like Dolly Parton in Rhinestone Cowboy.
yes, yeah, totally. And she is so flirty with him. He is flirty with her. He's all like,
Yeah.
he's
like
like,
hands like ugh,
he's
like
handsy
literally the
with her.
door opens to the shop and his hand is like on her tit at like 9:15 in the morning.
Yeah. And this customer, oh God, what's his name? Reynold, Raymar, Reinhold.
Yeah.
Anyways, Rayburn, Mr. Rayburn comes in
Ah,
and says that he is that he's chief executor of This woman's estate, she'd gone missing 7 years ago, but she's finally declared legally dead. So now he's activated to just sell the estate, move
Yep.
property, just get it done with. So he's come to Norman Shenley to just go
Appraise. Appraise
appraise,
away.
appraise
Here's the
away.
keys. I've drawn you up a map. 15 miles north of the city. You can't miss it. Lower Moat Manor.
Lower Moat Manor. So he goes out to Lower Moat Manor. And we're going to see this repetition of the same drive. He pulls up right at the entrance to the
Yep.
manor is a red
Red phone
telephone booth.
Yeah.
And then the old rundown manor itself, he gets there and he goes inside.
Well, first,
Oh,
something's afoot when none of the keys work.
oh yeah.
And he's like, huh. And then the door just opens on its own.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Uh-huh.
You're in Spooky Town Manor.
So he goes inside. He's kind of looking. It's all
Fake
dusty,
cobwebs.
cobwebby,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah. So haunted housey looking. And then he sees that there's kind of like a sort of modern, early 20th century electric intercom system,
Oh,
the
yeah,
little
yeah.
tube you talk into.
Yeah.
He's playing with it, like hello, hello, whatever. But then suddenly the intercom comes on. You hear kind of a dull, automated voice be like, "You shouldn't have done it, Mr. Shenley. You shouldn't have killed your wife. You
Terrifying.
killed her on Friday the 13th." He's like, "But that's today, and she certainly is not dead."
Yeah. I left my wife at home.
Dumbwaiter,
Ding. And the dumbwaiter opens. Out
body,
tumbles
thump,
a body.
and it's his wife. Um, which is now where I'm like, oh, well, we saw that in the intro.
Yes.
So now you're cataloging you're trying to remember
Yeah.
what all did I see in the intro.
Yeah.
And then the night things start moving after.
Oh my God. That was so schlocky. Oh my God.
I was like, we just watched Living
I know.
Skeleton where we saw night
Yeah,
suits
I
or
know,
whatever. It
right?
was
We're having
weird.
some weird night armor come to life kind of weirdness.
But he wakes up in his terrible dream fighting off these knights, and his wife Emily is in bed with him, and she's like, you're just trying
You
to.
son of a bitch. How
Yeah.
dare you sleep? I mean, like, it's like Denholm Elliott's great in this, but really it's the two women that are in this with him that like make this episode.
Yeah.
Because this
Totally.
wife character starts off as the worst
Uh-huh.
and then gets more and more realistic as she goes through the dream cycles. But
Yeah.
she's just like, oh, having another nightmare. Like, she is so over the top in this beginning scene. And he was like, yeah, I was in this house and there was somebody. She's like, anyone we know? I mean, anyone you know? And it's like, no, I'm sorry.
It's 4:30, and so he's like, well, I'm not gonna get any sleep. I
Might
might as well
just get
get up
and
and go to the
work.
office early. And then she's like, what time does she get into the office?
I know.
So
Oh,
he gets to the office.
yeah.
Lolly is already there, but
But Lolly looks very different.
uh-huh.
It's a Tuesday. So Mondays, we are Dolly Parton in Rhinestone Cowboy.
Mhm.
Tuesdays, we are Nancy from Sid and Nancy.
Yeah, she's like Urban Outfitters punk.
But I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's early 80s. So we're talking
Yes.
like this is kind of the height of like, British punk, high, like
Yes.
Johnny Rotten British punk, like
But it is
leopard,
yeah.
short hair. It's really just a lot of eye makeup and a very short cropped haircut and leather outfit.
Yes. With a Union Jack on it. Yeah.
Yes.
Um
And he's like, I had the craziest dream. I went to this house and it was a haunted house and there was a body. And she's like, well, you should go check it out.
mhm. Well,
And he's like, yeah, look, I got this map in my pocket. She's like, well, I have a question. If it was a dream, how do you have that map in your pocket?
great line.
You know what?
Love
That's not important right now. Out the door we go. And in
He-
each one of these scenes, it's very important that like when he gets done checking out the house, they have a date that night.
Yes. Yeah, so that he is having an affair with his secretary. It's not
Yep.
just him being a lecherous boss. They are having an
Yes.
affair where she is in love with him. And she keeps asking,
Yes.
when are
She
you
can't
going to
wait. Oh,
divorce
yes.
your wife?
Yes.
The other thing about this is when he gets into the office and she's in her punk attire, he's like, you look so different from yesterday. And she's like, you didn't see me yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday.
I know.
We didn't see each other yesterday.
He's like, oh, it's just a dream. It was so
Uh-huh.
real. I feel like, like when you dream, you're going to work and then you're like, oh, fuck, now I have to get up and actually go to work.
When he goes back out to the house, same pattern, old country road, pulls up
Yep.
to the phone booth, but looks out and sees there's no manor at all. There is no building
Just
on
cows.
site. Yeah.
Only cows.
So he
So he gets
gets
to the
into
phone booth.
to call Lolly,
Yeah.
but when he looks down at the paper, it says, "Why did you do it?" The map that's supposed to be the map. It just says in
Yeah.
handwriting, "Why did you do it?" And the phone rings and he answers, "You shouldn't have killed your wife, Mr. Shenley."
The voiceover is so like Hal in 2001.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, Dave, I cannot do that.
Yeah.
Why did you kill your wife?
Uh-huh. And the
And
phone booth is
my
locked
God.
and it fills with smoke.
Yeah. He's suffocating. Some sort of drunkard street tramp
Yeah.
is walking, ambling down the road, and he's like screaming, and he just does the like weird, like, oh,
He
howdy
just, yeah, the
do,
vagrant just
mister.
doffs his hat. But when we see the vagrant's face, it's Mr. Rayburn
Yeah,
from the first iteration of the
yeah.
dream. And then Lolly shows up, has fully changed clothes and hair. She's gone full like Roman Holiday, Audrey Hepburn here,
Yes, like it's like a
basically.
green beret and like a trench coat,
Uh-huh.
which we remember from the beginning. Uh-oh. Well,
Yeah.
she's saved. She's like, oh my God. I thought I was gonna die in there. Listen, crazy things happen to this guy.
Uh-huh.
One of the
She
craziest is that she is naked underneath that raincoat.
yeah, she drops the raincoat and then they start making out in this phone booth. It's the other there's our image from the title sequence or the cold open. And then suddenly he wakes up and again he's back in bed.
Yeah.
Emily is like, "What's your deal? Why are you sitting there? Who are you saying I love you to in your
I
dream?"
know. It sounded like you were making kissy noises in your sleep, but she's slightly less comically shrewish this time.
Agreed.
It's a little more like she's just fluffing the pillow. She's a little more like, you're a fucking weirdo. What is going on with you? But not like, not over the top.
And he says, "It's 2 nights in a row I've had these terrible nightmares." Emily, and she's like, "I don't remember you having another nightmare."
First I've ever heard of it.
So, another day at the office, Lolly is dressed in pigtails and a school uniform.
That's right. Wednesday, we dress like a Catholic schoolgirl.
Yeah. Uh she's like, maybe you should go check it out one more time. Third time's the charm.
Yeah, why
This
not?
thing. And also, don't forget, we're taking me to dinner tonight, of course, too. And when are you going to divorce your wife? Um, the house is there this time,
Yes. And it's gorgeous.
and a maid answers the door. A gentleman is cleaning the chandeliers.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's in beautiful shape. The maid welcomes him in, says, "Lady Strudwick will see you now, sir." And Lady Strudwick is so welcoming.
Oh,
Tell me of your
I
stories.
don't get many visitors out here. It's so like, what do you say? A real estate agent. How fascinating. Oh, you're from this neck of the woods. What a fascinating turn of phrase.
Um, and he starts telling her his dreams again, and he tells her all the twists, and she loves every twist and turn. He's like, where you
She's on the
have this chiffonier or whatever that piece of furniture
Yeah.
is called. He's like, where that
There's a
is against
dumbwaiter.
the wall. There was a dumbwaiter there, and she's like, "Oh, shocking,
Oh,
amazing." And he's like, "Would you mind if I moved that to see if the dumbwaiter is there?" And she's like, "I would not mind at all. I'm so
okay.
fascinated myself."
Really? You just like, good morning. May I rearrange your furniture because I had a dream about it?
Man,
Interesting. All right.
I had to move like a 2 foot wide bookshelf over
I
two
know, right?
feet the other day. I
Yeah.
was like, this is gonna take all afternoon. And
Yeah.
he just takes this thing and just like
Shove.
just moves
Yeah.
this like
I was
six
like,
foot
mind
tall,
the
six
floors,
foot
mind the
wide,
floors, scratch the floors.
solid wood
Yeah.
piece of furniture that is filled
But
with
filled with
dishes.
china. Yes,
Yes.
yes, all like filled with china. And he's like, and he starts knocking on the panels. This is where I'm like, this shit is creepy. Like,
Yes.
I mean, yes, this is the, Batusi version of horror, but like, I think this one, The Rude Awakening, is like one of the strongest, weirdest horror movies. And it's this reaction. He's like, knock, 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 thump, thump, thump. Oh, do you hear how that's hollow? She's like, well, yes, of course. And
And
someone
there's
goes, hello,
they say, come in.
come in. Like, did you hear that? It was somebody's voice. She's like, well, of course there was. Some silly girl got herself walled up inside the walls a few years ago. What? She's like, well, I believe in all sorts of spectral visions. She's like, oh, you're actively crazy. Okay. You know what? Thank you for the coffee.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna take my business card. I got to get out of here.
Well, and he's like, I need help. Something is wrong. I need help. And she's like, oh dear, I can't help you because
Of
I'm
course.
dead. I'm
I know.
dead. But you know, Mr.
And you're dead
Rayburn,
too.
You're dead too. Mr. Rayburn will take care of
He'll
everything.
sort everything
And
out.
on the way out, Mr. Rayburn
Ha-
pops up behind him, throws a noose around his neck, and draws him up. And then,
oh,
boom, waking up in bed again.
yep. And this time the sheets are all like twisted into a rope, and the wife is like, "You were strangling yourself and me, and what the fuck is going on? What are you dreaming about?"
Yeah. So this is the point now too where he finally mentions a divorce to his wife. It's like, I
Yes.
feel like maybe we should be getting a
Yeah.
I think we need a divorce. And she's like, what? Why? And she
What are you
looks
talking
hurt
about?
actually a little
Yeah.
bit. And she's like,
Yeah.
what? That's awful. No. I mean, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? No, fuck you.
She's
I
like,
wouldn't
I
divorce
know
you.
that you've had these secretaries, and like I know what it like. And she's like, why would like you like I'll give you a divorce? Like you're the one who's got like all these young hot secretaries running around.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you can't prove anything. Like, okay, all right.
Back at work, Lolly is in full red
Let's see.
satin
Wednesday.
jumpsuit.
Oh, yes.
This is day
Thursday.
4. Well,
Oh,
and
day 4, yeah.
actually every day is Friday.
Every day is Friday.
Because it's
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Friday the 13th, right? Or
Yeah.
the day of the week or what have you. Um,
It's kind of jazzercise. Let's call it jazzercise
yeah.
day.
Yeah. So they are they're not going back to the estate. This
No.
time they've got to go survey some really old uh
Like
basically like
build yeah, like
old
it's
apartment
it's
housing. Like
apartment. Yeah, 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 yeah.
they look
Yeah.
like subsidized housing
Yeah.
apartments, and there's a lot there that is empty, evacuated. He's got to see if it's worth buying and flipping.
Yeah.
So
And it
she's like,
looks rough.
yes.
But he's taking
Um,
Lolly with him.
yes. And it's like, and afterwards you can take me to dinner. And when are you gonna divorce
Oh.
your wife? And whatever else.
Mhm.
But the old flats are in bad shape. They take the elevator to the roof. He's like, oh, there's lead, rust, erosion.
Yeah.
Man, this is
Everything
bad. This is
everything's just
bad.
falling apart. They're on
And
the roof.
Lolly
I know,
sees
right?
a wrecking ball start swinging around.
Uh-huh. And she's like, "Do they know we're up here?" And he's like, "Yeah, I had an appointment for Council Flat B or Council Flat C." And she's like, "This is Council Flat A, you dumb asshole."
Yep.
I saw it on the way in. He's like, "What?"
So they kick open that door that's locked up on
Yeah.
the roof. They go running down the stairs toward the elevator.
Oh,
Lolly goes falling down the elevator shaft.
Lolly just goes headfirst into that elevator shaft. Goodbye, Lolly.
And then
Comedy.
comedy. And
And
then
he's booking it down the stairs. There's dust flying.
mhm.
Bricks are like every single staircase. And another thing that we saw in the beginning. And he finally makes it out. And everything seems okay.
Uh-huh.
Like he sees the caretaker. There's a caretaker who's played by Mr.
Mr.
Rayburn.
Rayburn. Yep.
And he's like, sorry, I didn't hear you knocking or something crazy like that. And he's like, fuck this, I'm out of here. And he goes outside, and there's Lolly operating the wrecking ball, but she's like, this is some like just some great dream. She's like talking kind of quiet, and he's like, what? I can't hear you. What?
Uh-huh. She says, oh God, I didn't write down what she says, but yeah, she's skip that, drop that part. But yeah, this is again where the caretaker says, "You shouldn't have done it, Mr. Shinley. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have killed your wife." Um, he wakes up again to
Yeah.
Emily is on the
Yes.
phone
Yeah.
with the doctor.
Oh, and that's what bleeds over into what Lolly is saying. Like she's saying like the words, like the last few words,
That's right.
an appoint, we should make an appointment.
Yes, and
He's
it,
like,
it
what?
doesn't
What is
make
it?
any sense, and it
Yeah.
turns out it's his wife telling a doctor on the phone, like, I really want to bring him in for an appointment. Things are weird or whatever. Um, she even mentions to the doctor, like, I think Norman might be having an affair with his secretary, but
Yeah.
also I don't think he really has any sexual drive. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Something's going on.
He mentions all of these dreams he's been having. She's like, I don't remember any of this. And then he's like, and also we should keep talking about that divorce. She's like, this is the first I've heard of the
Yeah.
divorce.
Yeah. Listen,
And she,
but she doesn't fly off the handle. She's like, listen,
no,
go go talk to the doctor.
uh-huh.
And then if you're still, we'll address this whole divorce thing later. How about that?
Yeah, this is actually this is where I really liked this episode because I thought it had like a really interesting like emotional arc under all
Yeah.
of the absurdity because
Yeah.
it really is about dealing with somebody who is losing contact with their reality,
Yeah.
and whether that's mental health and whether that's like uh brain degeneration, whether
Yeah.
that senility, whatever that is, a brain tumor, which is what this next sequence is
Yes.
about. Um, and having had a relative that had my grandmother had a brain tumor,
Oh,
and by
wow.
all accounts,
Yeah.
later in life she was always a pretty stern and kind of grumpy person, I think,
Yeah.
pretty. And I think she kept her sort of stubbornness, but by all accounts it sounded like she turned into a much softer, nicer person when the
Oh, yeah.
brain tumor hit. And I have talked to friends who have had older relatives with a brain tumor, and they turned vile, they turned
Yeah.
nasty, they turned
Yeah. That's
really
which is, yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. You hear about that.
And yeah, and so like this hits hard, like this because they go to the doctor and he's like, you have a brain tumor, like we have to operate at once,
Like now, today.
today. If we can get you in today, let's do that. um and it starts to like give a logical explanation of what's happening in
Yeah.
his mind here. Now let's talk about the surgery.
Woof. Okay. Well, his head is shaved.
Uh-huh.
They do the thing, which I can't, I still like, you just draw with a marker on
Yep.
somebody's body where you're going to operate on them like the game Operation. It's terrifying to me.
Uh-huh.
But there's, it's very like scalpel, 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 burp, burp,
Uh-huh.
burp, burp. But his eyes are open
Yeah.
and he's looking around, and
Uh-huh.
like the scalpel goes in and they're like, oh, we're getting an irregular heartbeat. Something's going on. And he has flatlined and he's dead, but his eyes are wide awake.
Wide awake this whole time.
Flatliners eat your heart out.
What would you call this fear? There's got to be a specific phobia for it, but the idea of like the fear of like being conscious during surgery,
During
right? Or
surgery. Oh my
or
God.
being
Yeah. Oh,
or being
absolutely.
buried alive,
Yes.
even
Maybe it's a bit of that. Yeah. Like being conscious while they're operating on you, of
it's
they think you're like sort of false death, where like the doctors think you're dead, but you're experiencing everything. Like you get that in Flatliners, you get that in Jacob's Ladder.
uh-huh.
That's a pretty common one.
Yeah. And I think
Like that's,
also
yeah.
there's also hearing accounts of people who've dealt with sleep paralysis before too, like the,
Yeah.
the the horror hanging over you and you bodily can do nothing about it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But she but he, they're like, well, we'll have to take him straight down to the morgue,
Yeah.
basically. And they go slide him in the doctor and the two nurses who we know who they are. You can see
Of
their
course.
faces under their masks,
Yeah.
but they slide him into the fridge, basically the freezer. And as the last thing they do is pull their masks down and they all do these creepy grins at him.
Yeah.
Boom, door slams. He wakes up snoring to Emily is sleeping in bed next to him. So he smothers her with a pillow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, she fights. It is
Yep.
rough.
Yeah.
It is very tragic watching her change throughout
Yeah.
this episode and kind of knowing where he's at by this point.
Yeah.
And then she's dead and he goes to
He
work a
comes
little
into that
late.
office and he is on top of the world.
I
Well, no, it
really love
actually
Yeah.
that's not actually how it starts. The scene start, which is this is so brilliant.
Yeah. Please.
Well, it starts with like the little Friday. It's now actually Friday the 13th. We've reached Friday the 13th.
Yep.
And
Lolly turning over the calendar.
Lolly is in a very conservative cardigan.
Yes.
She's clearly like, where the fuck is, where is my boss? Like she's checking outside. She's not dressed like Dolly Parton. She's not dressed like Johnny Rotten.
Everything about her is modest. The hair, the
Yeah.
makeup, the
Yeah.
mannerisms. She looks like a normal woman at work. Like
Yeah.
normal, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like just I have a day job, I do the job, I go home,
Yep.
I have some other life that you'll never see because I'm
Yep.
just the face for you at this business.
I'm a secretary.
I'm
That's
a
what I do.
secretary. But Norman shows up, as you said, on top of the world. He's got a gift, he's got a present with him.
Yep.
He's like, I'm free to marry you now. And he's encroaching on her.
Yeah.
And she's like, what?
She's like, what are
She's
you,
like
what are you
wincing.
talking about? Yeah.
And he gives her just an elaborate diamond necklace.
Oh my God. Just the tackiest, craziest diamond. And she's like, what is this? Listen, you're an hour late. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and it's clearly the first she's heard of the fact that they're in love with each other.
Yeah.
She wants nothing to do with this. And then Mr. Rayburn shows up.
Yep.
And he's a cop.
And he's like, don't you recognize me? You reported a break-in a few weeks ago and we came to investigate it, but we're here for different things right now.
And was there anything unusual at your home when you left today? Where's your wife? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, my wife's dead.
Yeah. And he's like, that is correct.
Uh-huh.
Her sister came by and found her dead. Strangled, in fact.
There's a couple of moments here that I think are really interesting because one, Norman says to Mr. Rayburn here, my wife doesn't have a sister.
I know,
that's
right?
So
yeah.
Because there's going to be
like
a beat. The phone call at the end is also going to leave us questioning whether this too is a dream.
Yeah.
But all of his dreams have had the same through line of you need to divorce your wife so you can be with your secretary.
Yeah.
And in this final dream that we see, he has murdered his wife and he and his secretary have no relationship beyond she works for him.
Yeah.
And he's like, Lolly, well, I see that I'm a suspect now. So she must have just fallen and hit her head or something, Lolly, tell them I love you and that we're to be married. She's like, he's not.
She's like, I don't, this is a lot.
And it's dawns on him when he was like, no, you, Mr. Rayburn, remember, you were the executor of the will. You were the vagrant. You were the caretaker. Now you're the cop. I mean, you're Mr. Rayburn, for crying out loud. And you keep telling me that I'm going to kill my wife on Friday the 13th. It's not even Friday the 13th. And that's when Lolly's like, sir, it actually is.
Yeah, today is Friday.
The 13th.
It is.
And they haul him away. And Lolly packs her shit and is like, I'm getting out of here. But then the phone rings. And it's that Mr. Rayburn guy voice. It's like, Mr. Shenley, and I'd like to speak to him about Lower Moat Manor.
Do you
And
know
this,
when he'll be back? And she's like, it might be a while.
uh-huh. And then she hangs up the phone, walks off screen, and then we just see her hand come back in, snatch those diamonds, and run out.
I love it.
True hero.
True hero. She's like, you know what? I might as well.
Well, that's the end of our first 3 episodes of this series. Shall we rate this TV show?
Yes, let's.
All right, I will tell you about approachability. Like, how approachable is this show if you're horror show averse? I'll give you a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most approachable. Easy, 1 being don't watch this if you're squeamish. I'd give Hammer House of Horror like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Like, it's network television-y, right? It's, let's say, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10 tacky diamond necklaces.
Ooh.
You know, like we said earlier, like, I think the hardest 2 parts really just, 1 is the fat shaming in episode 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the medical horror in episode 3 is really, those are unsettling in terms of like just stirring your peace, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the blood and gore is community theater level. There are no jump scares. It's very it's Dollar General Twilight Zone, you know.
Yep.
It's Panto Outer Limits, you know. So, yeah, 9 out of 10 in terms of approachability. If this sounds up your alley, go watch it. It's fun. It's over on, I watched it on Peacock. It used to be on Shudder. I didn't see it on there. I don't, but you can find it somewhere. So check it out. Cecil, as just a rating for this as a horror film show, what do you think?
I mean, as an anthology horror TV show, this is an awful lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, as all anthologies are, it's a little bit of a salad bar kind of effect. So like you're gonna like certain things more than others,
Uh-huh.
but you get like a nice little range. You've got some witches, you've got some ghoulish cannibalism, you've got some very weird, surreal, dreamlike murder circumstances. I think there's something in here if you can get over the sort of campy style of it,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So for that, I'm going to give Hammer House of Horror 7 Headless Crows.
Great. Awesome. All right, let's figure out what we're going to watch next. You've got a scare die. I've got a style die. We'll roll those up and see what movie fits those 2 things. So on your scare die, Cecil, if you roll a 1, our scare is isolation. 2, a giant blank. 3, a vampire. 4, bad mom or bad dad. 5, a cult. A space cult. 6, end of the world is our scare. What's our scare for this movie?
That's a 2.
Gonna just jump right on top of that giant blank.
Get that giant blank.
Okay, so giant blank is gonna match to whatever style I roll. If I roll a 1, it's got to be something from the Southern Hemisphere. 2, a splatter film. 3, a movie with 1 word in the title. 4, a cult film, meaning it has a cult following. 5, 1970s. And 6, wild card, whatever giant blank we want. So here we go. 3, 1 word title, giant blank.
Ooh, great.
Oh,
We got some good options here.
This is gonna be easy. Why don't I tell you about the ones we wrote down, and you want to tell us what people suggested over on Letterboxd? Here, 2 seconds. Just moving windows around. Blah, blah, blah. Great. All right. Here's what we put down for 1 word title, giant blank. Nope. Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
It's a giant thing, and it's
a giant
1
blank.
word title. Another one we have put on our list so many times and has still not got to, Tremors.
Yes.
1990, I think.
Yeah.
Reba McEntire, Fred
Kevin
Ward, Kevin
Bacon.
Bacon. I forget who else is in this, but yeah, giant worm things
Giant sandworms.
under the desert. Aliens.
Yeah.
I think I did Aliens rather than Alien because the Alien is big, but like the Alien is huge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, in Aliens, it's definitely much more the big giant monster, big giant alien.
Another one I put on here, I don't know, given what we have, that will do this, but this is an interesting one. It's Melancholia.
It's like a giant planet.
It is a
hurtling towards the
giant
sun
planet
or a
heading
giant sun.
towards
I can't
Earth.
remember.
Like I think it's
Oh, that's
another
it.
Earth heading at Earth, and this is horror of ennui. This is
Yes.
existential horror, and this is Lars
Giant
von Trier, I
sadness.
believe. Yeah. Um, I think this is one that we could do for the show, but I don't know that we'll get to here.
That makes
And the
sense.
last one is Prey, not 2019 or 2021, whenever that movie came out, not the Predator prequel. Prey, the 2016, I think, Danish film about a
Yes.
giant lion on loose
On
in the city.
the streets of Amsterdam.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Dutch or whatever it is. Yeah. Um. So those are those. What did folks on Letterbox have to say?
Oh, I think there was one more that I added just the other day, which is Razorback, a
Oh yes.
Australian outback, a giant razorback.
Yep. Uh.
Uh,
Oh,
uh,
if we're doing and also if we're doing Australian animal movies, Rogue, which I think is an
oh,
alligator. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, that one's up
Yeah.
there. Let's see. King and Commodore recommends Q, Q the Winged Serpent. Yeah, a one-letter title even. And Sting, 2024 is still in the theaters, or if it's hit streaming, a Great Dane-sized spider hunts its way through an apartment building during a blizzard.
Oh God.
Yikes. Danica
Fuck.
Ray recommends Sharknado. I mean, come on, how did we miss Sharknado?
Oh yeah, of
I mean,
course.
it's a giant tornado filled with sharks, filled with
Hmm.
giant sharks. Um,
And they also threw out Lava Lantula too, which is in the same vein.
Lava Lantula. Oh my God. Wind Dancing recommends Mimic, which
Hmm.
Mimic is like, it's like a giant sort of, I've not seen Mimic in so long.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm getting it confused with something else, but I think it's a giant bug.
Oh yeah, it's like Space Roach or something.
Yeah. Yes, a cockroach spread plague threatens to disseminate the child population of New York City. Mira Sorvino, as a biologist and a research sort of spears, sort of, I don't know. They're giant cockroaches. Let's go with giant cockroaches. So thank you, Wind Dancing, for Mimic. Diamond Dogs recommends Alligator from 1980.
Uh-huh.
An alligator living in the Chicago sewers eats dog corpses that have become, oh my God, that have been
Yeah,
given
oh my
experimental
God.
growth hormones to become gigantic. I mean, who hasn't experienced that?
Hmm.
Yes, Martin recommends Lava Lantula, um, saying it's better than Sharknado. Funny on
Hmm.
purpose. Sarah Kendall recommends Tarantula from 1955. Very proper, standard 1950s. Oh no, a giant bug movie.
I love Sarah for
Classic.
writing "Oh no, a giant bug" as a genre.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yep. But I love that it's like proper standard 1950s because the 50s they were obsessed with that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Cronenberg TA recommends Nope as well. Danica Ray also recommends Martin. Oh no, sorry, that is cut that
Yep.
out. They're
No,
they're talking
they're
to somebody
thinking
else.
Martin. Yep.
Sorry. AJ AKVHS Troll Hunter,
Yeah.
a
Oh
fun
yeah.
dark.
Forgot about Troll
So like
Hunter.
giant trolls, yeah, Troll
Yeah.
Hunter, absolutely.
I
And
think
that's kind
that's
of
kind of
like
found footagey style. I
found
think it's a found
footage. It's
footage. Yeah.
like kind of dark comedy, like, but
Uh-huh.
it's got some really, it's a really fun one. I've seen that one. Let's see. Milo Who recommends Them, which we have covered for the
Yes, we did them.
show.
Yep.
Uh, Ghostbusters,
Oh sure. Yeah.
classic,
Stay Puft.
one
Yeah.
word title. Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Beard Baron recommends Infestation from 2009. After being stung by a giant insect, Cooper learns that the bugs are attacking the whole city.
Okay.
Also recommends
Giant insect.
Tremors and Them.
Mm-hmm.
Also recommends Crawl from 2019. During a massive hurricane, Haley and her father get trapped and struggle to escape, but so I don't know what the monster is here, what the big giant thing is, but it sounds like there's something in the flood water. I think it's alligators. I think so. I think I looked this
Sure.
one up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Ganymede's Cup recommends Monstrum from 2018, a South Korean period piece horror. The monstrum is a giant monster creature.
Okay.
Great.
Love that.
But that's kind of interesting. It's like a period piece.
Period piece monster movie is interesting.
Yeah. I think that, yeah. So it's like he's like a monster hunter for the, for the king.
Interesting.
That's kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
Fifth Hammer recommends House, 1906. Roger Cobb and his wife is separated. Their only son Jimmy has disappeared. His aunt has committed suicide. On top of that, he's got to write another book. To the chagrin of his fans as publisher, his plans of novel is based on Vietnam instead of another horror story, and it's a giant house. I get
Oh,
that.
I know. Yeah, I
Like,
know this video cover, which is like the decayed hand
yes,
ringing a doorbell.
yes.
This is,
And it's like the house is like bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, let's say.
yeah,
So
yeah,
a giant mystery house.
yeah,
And I think that's it for the letterbox.
yeah. A lot of support for Lavalantula, a lot of support for
Yeah.
Tremors and Nope.
Yeah.
Um, you know, these are mostly monster-ish movies, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like the vibe that you want to get. Do we want to do something modern and silly? Do we want to do something modern and thoughtful, like Nope, like the highly
Yeah.
produced
Like
prestige
very,
type of
yeah, very
film?
slick. Yeah.
Or even like Tremors and Aliens, which are fun,
Yeah.
sort of movies, but intense.
We can go back to the 1950s.
Yes,
You know,
there's also
we've had
classic
quite a
monster
bit
things.
of listen, we've done Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf,
Uh-huh.
Hammer House of Horror. We've had a bit of camp.
Yes.
So maybe I'm kind of thinking either something prestige like Nope.
Uh-huh.
Um, okay, these are my three. These are my three. Nope, Tremors, Mimic.
Nope, Tremors, Mimic.
Oh,
Um,
is the giant bug? I also kind of love a giant lion attacking the streets of Amsterdam. Oh, Jeffrey, this is so
yeah, those are
hard.
good. And I also Monster I thought Ganymede's Cup made a good pitch for Monstrum is
Yeah,
interesting, like another like a
just something
Korean
different.
a period monster
Yeah,
piece is sort of fascinating. And it also, I mean, listen, Aliens is great. I would love to
yeah.
cleanse my palate of whatever alien movie we watched for this show. I forget which one, the fourth. Um, yeah, I agree with you. I think I want to not do campy or old,
Yeah.
you know.
Listen, Sharknado sounds like a lot of fun. Lava Lantula sounds like a lot of fun, but I think after the campiness of Hammer House of Horror, like let's and honestly though, I think my heart is telling me Tremors because
That's
it's got funniness as part of it, but it's like a very competent, well-made, much beloved film. And
it,
it's giant sandworms, Jeffrey.
again, and also like it's 1990s. I love getting back into 1990s stuff
Yeah,
because it's one of the lightest decades we've covered on this show.
yeah.
And
We got to fill it. We got to meet our quotas.
I this is such a big popular movie. It has such a cult following. It's really survived so well through time. I would love to rewatch it because I haven't seen
Yeah.
it since the
I
early
don't think I,
90s,
yeah, no,
mid
I don't think I
90s.
have either.
Well shit, let's make everyone happy and let's watch Tremors.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for listening. Thanks, Cecil, for talking with me. And if you have thoughts on Hammer House Horror or ideas for what movie you would go with, it's a one-word title meets giant blank, let us know on Instagram at Random Horror 9 or over on our Patreon, where we have public discussion threads for each episode, and you do not need to be a paying member to participate in those. So watch Tremors from 1990 with us this week, and come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no music producers reporting you to the Witchfinder or nothing. Boo.
Boo.